Hello, everybody. Welcome to this Protection Insight podcast. Joining me today is Nigel Pointer from Visard. He's one of the advisors within our network. Welcome to the podcast, Nigel. How are you?
Hi, Vincent. How are we doing? You okay?
All good. Nigel, I'm so grateful for you joining us in this podcast today. I remember at a roadshow down in Essex, but you did a bit of an impromptu speech really about your own story, and it just compelled me to try and get what your story is on tape so the rest of the advisors within the network can actually hear what you had to say and what your experience was, because actually it's about protection. It's about the fact that things do actually happen to normal people all the time. And sometimes it's a really good thing if you've actually got some protection. So, Nigel, do you want to start by just telling advisors a little bit about you?
Sure.
I know you've done a lot of marathons over the years and kept fit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am now a 52-year-old gentleman. I am a single dad. Was a single dad when my son was 9. He's about to turn 21, actually. So my circumstances in life changed significantly a number of years ago. I couldn't get on planes, and I used to be involved in that quite a bit and travelling. I kind of had to be at the school date and then at the end of the road and then at home and then et cetera, et cetera. So as the years have unfolded, I had to spend a lot of time at home. That's just the way it was, being dad came first. So the evolution of my career was always in finance. I could take you back from when I was 16. I won't bore you with that, but I've always been in and around finance all my life. And I stumbled across probably about 6 years ago an opportunity to work in the insurance industry, which is where the Visana story came along. A mutual contact introduced me to the concept of life cover, serious illness cover, and quite specifically vitality. Now, that resonates with me because I have done marathons. I've done 19 actually in 15 different countries is my claim to fame. And I'm not very good at them, by the way, but I have done them. But being fit and healthy resonates with me. I quite like the idea. Running, particularly as a single dad, gave me a bit of an outlet, particularly as my son could get involved in the early days as well. And things like the virtues of park run is open to everyone. So it allowed us to not just be, father and son. It allowed me to be a bloke called Nigel as well, which was not just dad, a guy called Nigel, which was quite nice. So that's kind of my background. And as I say, introduced to protection about 5-6 years ago, I would say. Virtually 6 years ago, and particularly vitality. I really like the idea of vitality.
So what happened to you happened when actually I'm 49 now, just about to turn 50. So it resonated with me, Nigel, because I don't do marathons. You've been doing lots and lots of marathons. So what exactly happened to you, Nigel?
What happens? Yeah. So our trips abroad is just this cracker's idea of trying to do a marathon in every European capital city. And we were in Riga. There's a group of us went out to Latvia. It's a beautiful city, by the way. You should go. It's a really nice place. Ran a marathon over there, did the normal thing, went over, ran a marathon, had some fun, had a few beers, come home. Wonderful. A couple of days later, wasn't feeling great and kind of chesty more than anything. I don't get ill, I don't get colds, by and large. A couple of days after that, really struggling to breathe. This is quite peculiar. And the timing is odd, actually, because it will be 3 years this Sunday on the 29th of May. To cut a very long story short, so my lad was doing his A-levels. I'd been bedridden for one of the days, gone to the emergency doctor who said, I think it's a chest infection, gave me some antibiotics. And had he not if he'd have gone off to do his A-level study period, which is what he was due to do, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But instead, he picked up the phone, had the wherewithal to ring 999, and an hour later, I was in a coma in intensive care in Southend Hospital. I live in Essex, so in Southend Hospital. I was diagnosed with Legionnaire's disease, which is such a rare thing that you even have the kind of World Health Organization, the UK equivalent, pin that disease down in every single case. It's very, very rare. So he had phone calls from kind of government officials. Where's he been? What's he done? Where did he stay? All these detailed questions. And we think, and I will never know, Vincent, and that's okay. We think it was possibly in the apartment that we stayed in Riga, which was lovely, by the way. We didn't scrimp on anything. It had a pool table in the lounge, for God's sake. It's a beautiful building, a beautiful apartment. But we think that potentially it's something within maybe the shower, and I got the brunt of it. Legionnaire's basically sits within the pipe work. So things like hospitals and schools are always being checked for Legionnaires. It sits dormant in the pipe, so you have to flush the water regularly. And it's actually from water vapour, so it's not direct water. Air conditioning units are another one where it can sit. What Legionnaires does, by all accounts now I know, is it attacks your lungs, and it slowly but surely breaks them down. It has lots of other effects, which I did suffer with as well, but ultimately it attacked the lungs, and once that major organ fails, then it just works its way around. And had I have passed away, I would have died of a heart attack, because that would have been the final thing to go. But through pure luck, it wasn't any irresponsible behaviour. Maybe running marathons is. We didn't scrimp. I didn't expose myself to somewhere I shouldn't have gone to. I was a fit and healthy 49-year-old bloke who just ran a marathon and was struck down with something which is deadly, deadly.
So you kind of had some milder symptoms, I suppose, but then it resulted in a coma. So how long were you out of action for?
Yeah, so you're right. So the mild symptoms are what you would think to be a chest infection, and the doctor thought, it's probably a chest infection, but actually little did they know, and that's okay. So I was rushed in, went straight into A&E, straight through there, straight into intensive care, and I was put into coma and on a ventilator. I was on the coma for over 10 days and then an intensive care for 11. I then came out of that into high dependency and then onto a normal ward, and then obviously came out of hospital. So the battle is very simply, the medicine goes at the disease and the disease goes at the body, and it's whoever's going to be the strongest. If you think about the impact of COVID, and it's very sad actually, but when you look at the coverage was of COVID, when you see the photographs of people in intensive care with ventilators, that was me. And literally the statistics of Legionnaires, not that I'd ever recommend anybody experiences that, it's more deadly with men than it is women. If you're under 50 and you're unfit, it'll kill you. If you're under 50 and you're fit, you stand a chance. And if you're over 50 and you're unfit, forget it. It's that brutal. So I came sort of all the way through the cycle. Obviously didn't have a clue for much of it. I was in a coma. How would I know? But when I came out of that, the doctor said a story that resonates with me, and to this very day, the day I came out of the intensive care, I went into high dependency. It was a Sunday morning actually, and I had a whole ward all to myself. It was strange. It was early in the morning, and the consultant doctor came up to me and he sat down the power of the NHS and how wonderful they are. He held my hand. He must have been a 50-year-old man. And he rubbed my hand, he held my hand, he squeezed me, and he said, you have got to understand the severity of what's happened to you. You should be dead, but you're not. And you're not because you're fit and healthy. And that's why health and wellness is
so
exactly. It's so important that, and this is where, if you come back to the vitality model, their concept is health and wellness. Well, it's obvious, because the fitter and healthier you are, the less likely you are to make a claim. So it's a simple business model, well done them. But actually, directly from the NHS, the consultant said to me, this is the message we want to get across to everybody: health and wellness, health and wellness. And the only reason you're alive is because you're fit and healthy. So that sits with me.
So you had a critical illness, a coma. That's a critical illness.
Correct.
So you did have protection, didn't you, Nigel?
Of course, absolutely. Yeah. So I wrote my policy. Obviously, when I started out, the first person to test and feel and do it is going to be me, naturally. I wrote my policy in the November of 2016. I didn't need a lot. I had £100,000 worth of life cover, £100,000 worth of serious illness cover. It was vitality. But because I was trained very well, what we built was, I'm not a gambler, so I'd never take a risk on my insurance, because why would you? The two concepts of the critical ill or serious illness through vitality is, do you want all the conditions or some of the conditions? Well, unless you're a gambler, just don't be stupid. Go cover all the conditions. And thank God I did. So I wrote myself a very comprehensive belts and braces policy. I had £100,000 worth of life, £100,000 worth of serious illness cover, boosted, and with protection on both the life and serious illness cover.
Okay, so I think what we need to be clear then, just for advisors watching this, so you boosted your cover, and what was the other bit you had there, Nigel?
Protection on both the life and serious illness.
So what does that actually mean? Because obviously what you experienced there would probably preclude anybody else from actually ever getting cover ever again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So very interestingly on that, I have since gone back to Vitality and my medical records show that I'm free and clear for the lungs actually. So that again, that's a bit of a mini win for me. Don't forget I'm a bloke, so there's all about little wins here and there. So what does it mean? So if you've got to be goddamn unlucky here, but what it means is you've got 3 bites of or 3 lots of access to your serious illness cover. And because it's protected, whatever claim you may or may not make, you're 100% sum assured. So it goes back to the sum assured. So utilising the 100,000 value, if I had a 50% payout, which I did, I'd receive 50% of the sum assured, but the sum assured were back up to £100,000. So when I say you've got to be goddamn unlucky, if you had 3 100% payouts on your serious illness cover, that wouldn't be very good, but you'd want to tell the tale, of course. If you'd like to be here to tell the tale, it then has no impact on your life cover. So when I wrote my policy, and these are, everyone's writes them for their own circumstances, but this is where knowing your clients is so important. Obviously I knew myself, so I knew my circumstances. When I wrote my policy, I needed financially to make sure that my son would be okay if his dad went pop. And that was in the form of, will this be enough to see him through his A-levels into university, and then he's out into the big wide world and he can crack on with it? Yes. So the monetary values worked for the purpose. So mine was, like a mortgage or something like that. Mine was circumstance driven in order to financially protect him. But actually, thank the Lord that I did it. When I came out, to hop forward, when I came out of hospital, I couldn't speak properly. I wasn't able to walk. I came out in a wheelchair. I had something called drop foot, which is not directly linked to Legionnaires, but it can be. So I was told by the consultants that I'll probably never walk again, but I should be lucky because I'm alive. Of course, I'm a bloke, mini wins. No, I'm not going to not walk. Of course I'm going to walk again. And so having the insurance and being told, yes, we're paying out. And the reason why Vitality paid out was because I was in intensive care for more than 10 days. That was Legionnaires, such a rare thing that if you actually look at it, I don't suppose anybody would insure against it. But it's the repercussions of what can happen. So I could sit here at home because I couldn't do anything more, rest up knowing I indexed my policy, by the way, so the payout's just over 53 grand. So I received £53,000 as soon as I was told by Vitality, yes, it's approved. Within 2 days, checked my online banking and wow, it's there. So it just gave me peace of mind. It just allowed me, I said to my son, Matthew, I said, look, kid, I don't know what's going to happen here. We're going to battle getting me back up on my feet, metaphorically speaking and physically, but we're going to be all right. We're going to be okay financially. We can still pay the bills and we can still shop at Tesco's and we'll be all right. So it just gave me peace of mind. It's that age-old thing. You never want to claim on it, no. But thank the Lord that I had it in place because it gave me comfort and peace of mind to then actually concentrate on getting myself well, which over a period of time I did. So,
yeah. Well, you look well now, Nigel. You can completely over it now, I take it.
Yeah, no, completely. So I'm back running. So I in the end the drop foot was as a result of nerve damage. So I had a process to go through there at the hospital, loads more appointments. It was just awful, and I'd break your heart if I told you all the sob stories, but in the end we put it down. It was narrowed down to nerve damage, and then it was just determination and exercise. And the comfort is, so I was determined that I'll go back marathon running again, not because I want to be good, but because I'm not going to let it beat me. And weirdly, so that's 2019, I went in hospital, the 29th of May 2019. On the 1st of March 2020, I ran the Malta Marathon.
Wow.
In seconds under 5 hours. That's a rubbish time, but I was getting back onto learning how to walk, let alone run again. And then blow me down, was it 10 or 11 days later, the country went into a full lockdown. So and then I've had 2 years watching people talk about COVID and incubators and intensive care and so I get it. And it has an effect mentally, nobody, again, I'm a big tough bloke, but it has an effect mentally. There's no doubt whatsoever, they're back for the grace of God. And it's now what you do. So, going forward, in my opinion, everything's got to be positive because life's too short. But the whole concept behind insurance was it gave me peace of mind. And that, being told I'll possibly never walk again and that I was at a near-death experience, a major trauma, to then have to worry about not having any money or limited money would have been devastating. So, very, very pleased for the training I received from the Vitality guy all those years ago, and for sticking by it, obviously, myself.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that obviously the need for protection comes out in your story there, but I think also the need, as far as people who are not in our industry at all, they need proper advice, because there are features and benefits on policies these days which they do need a bit of working out, really. If you think about it, would we rather have a bland set of products that are all basically the same, or would we want innovation and variety? That's what we've got. But what comes with it is actually we need professionals like you to translate it, really.
It resonated with me when I was doing the training, because actually, bless his heart, my late father, he's been dead many years. He suffered in later life 3 serious illnesses. Diabetes changed his life. He then had a stroke. He then was diagnosed with cancer, and he passed away. And I watched him financially suffer towards the end because he didn't have the right protection in place. Now, I think back then he wouldn't have had something like a Vitality policy. It didn't resonate with him. But my point being, having been taught that actually protect your life and serious illness cover, this whole 3 bites of the cherry, it is difficult to get your head around, but my God, make the effort, because in his circumstances, it impacted him financially. I'm now 52, as I say. I've got 100 grand or index, so whatever it is, just over 100 grand's worth of serious illness cover. I hope I never claim on it. But if I do have a serious problem, I know I've got access to it. Whereas other plans, either wiped out altogether, or sorry, actually, you don't have the sum assured that you thought you did have because you didn't understand it. So I'm a champion of Vitality. I totally get that it does come with its complexities. But it's not that difficult to understand if you really want. But make some effort. Yeah, make some effort. A bit of training, and you'll master it in no time.
Yeah. Well, we're going to launch some content on our own advisor site this year. But Nigel, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It's inspirational to hear that, because of course it's great to see that you actually, well, some people don't make it, and of course all we can ever do as advisors is put money on the table when people need it the most. That's it. We can't stop bad things happening, can we, Nigel? So
absolutely. And you're spot on. Should I have been knocked down with an illness like that being fit? No, of course not. But it happens. Stuff happens, and it's out of your control. And you're right. It's what have you put in place as a provision? And yeah, that was the case. So yeah.
Amazing. Okay, I'm sure that advisors watching this podcast will be fascinated by your story there, Nigel. But as I say, once again, thank you so much for spending a few minutes and sharing your story. So, okay, so that's it for this particular Protection Insight podcast. Until next time, it's bye for now.